guys, welcome back to the Boomerang podcast. Today I have a very, very, very special guest. She is the host of the Tina Peters Show. She was the county clerk in Mason County, Colorado. She is a Gold Star mom and one hell of a model American. Tina Peters, welcome to the Boomerang podcast. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Matthew. It's good to be here. And thank you for honoring my son. Most people, I didn't know what a Gold Star parent was, and I'm a Gold Star mom until I lost my son. He was a Navy SEAL, proudly served this country. And when they said I was a Gold Star mom, they had to explain to me what that is. That's someone that's lost their son or daughter in service. So he served as a Navy SEAL for 9 years. I was running for office when he was tragically killed, and it teaches you. Having been a cancer survivor, Matt, and in 2016, then losing your son 1 year later in 2017, while you're running for office, and then having all the things they've done to me for exposing the deep state criminality, you learn to draw from deep down inside. Courage is you don't know how much courage you have until that's the only choice you have. So I just want to encourage people that you can get through anything, especially if you've God on your side.
I thought about it when I learned about you and your life and the stuff you've been doing. Just the type of woman it takes to raise a son who becomes a Navy SEAL. Here I am in Midas Gold Group, a gold broker. I feel like a nobody compared to somebody who toughed it out and made it into the SEALs. That's a special group. So kudos to you. That speaks volumes about you.
We all have, and I want people out there to understand this, we all have our path, and like the Bible says, don't despise small beginnings. Start at your local level, start where you can. And that's what I did, Matt. I went out, and after I recovered from, I had the surgery on my lung for lung cancer. I didn't even smoke. I was a flight attendant when they had the tubes full of smoke on the airlines. And so, when you deal with a near-death experience, life means a whole lot more than what we normally go through day to day. And I wanted to give back to my community. And that's when I decided to run for office. So, and then of course my son said, he said to me, he says, "Mom, you got this. The only thing is you'll probably do more than what's required." Little did I know what that would mean until much later.
Yeah, well, I think we all owe you some gratitude for what you're going through. Tell us about what's going on. I mean, we know, right? We've seen David K. Clemens' film, Let My People Go, right? I know you're kind of loosely associated with him. I mean, his work falls right into your territory. What's going on? Give us an update.
Well, I was thrust in the center of this thing because the images that I did after the 2020 election of our election management system to back up election records caught a lot of attention. No one had ever seen inside these machines, these black box voting machines before at all. And of course, it not only drew the attention publicly, but the criminals came out of the woodwork. I mean, Merrick Garland was involved in the very beginning. Jenna Griswold, the Secretary of State, came in, raided my office. A few months later, I was raided by the FBI. That knock that comes on your door that a lot of J6ers understand, and other people that have been wrongfully accused. You can't get that out of your mind. It's not a normal knock, and it's not a normal yell. Especially they usually do pre-dawn raids, so it shakes you out of a deep sleep. You think you're dreaming. They went on because I wouldn't back down. I wouldn't shut up. I wouldn't, renounce and repudiate what I said, according to a 10-page memorandum issued to me by the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, that I would recant, repudiate, and disavow, or something like that, what I said on Facebook Live, that these machines need to be more transparent to the people and not be allowed to do what they're designed to do. And when I wouldn't sign this 10-page I think she knew I wouldn't sign it. She took it to a judge. Judge removed me illegally from office. You can't remove an elected official, a person elected by the people, from office. It has to be a recall by the people.
Smells like desperation to me. They knew you were onto something. They knew
Oh,
you had isn't that the situation, is that you got a feeling that, hey, these machines were not working properly, so you went back to your office, you copied the data, and all of a sudden now you're target number one because you have the truth about these voting machines.
right. We didn't know all that we had at the time. We just knew that because they basically panicked when they found out that, I had imaged the machines, which was entirely legal.
Legal, right?
Yeah, it was entirely legal, and it doesn't collect any personal identifying information. It actually is an image, and 29,000 election records that they deleted were audit files, access log files, and adjudication log files. These are files that prove how you get to the total of the election. What they do is they back up, or they tell the clerks to back up the results of the election, but you can't audit that election to see how you got there. You can't, you can't see who went in and out of the system. And as time has gone on, we have found so much criminality that has opened this Pandora's box of discovery, kind of like the J6. How we found out that there were operatives. I mean, I just heard one of the senators talking about, or representatives talking, I think from Louisiana. He's on that committee, and he said, there were at least 200 and probably more infiltrators that were agents that were interspersed in with the Trump supporters, dressed like Trump supporters. So, as time goes on, more and more is coming out, but the people need to wake up, and they need to listen, and they need to get shows like yours out, shows like mine out to the media. They need to walk door to door, Matt, and talk to people. That's what I did in 2016. And I'd never been involved in politics.
Well, it's amazing because we just saw that video from J6 where they had the pipe bomb outside the DNC. It was the local police, the Metropolitan Police or whatever, colluding with the Secret Service, planting that bomb. And he gives you saw that he gave the little, hey, we're done over here, and they had it planted. And what was interesting was Kamala Harris. She was in the DNC and she never mentioned anything about being so close to, right. She could have made a big deal about it, but she kept her mouth shut. So it's clearly right. We know the story,
Yeah.
but with the machine. So essentially what they told you was that the files were all backed up, but in essence, it was really the election that was backed up. It wasn't the individual machines, right? It was just the final total, not how they got to that total. Is how
Right.
you
So in the election management system, and I really encourage people to go on my website, tinapeters.us. You see it up on the screen. Go on my website and look at the reports. The reports are on there. They've never been debunked. They were done by highly skilled, highly qualified, cyber experts that thwarted terrorist attacks. I mean, the credentials are just massive
right.
of their expertise. But and it's important for people to know these are facts. I mean, these are facts that have been backed up, and images are admissible into court. But not in this court case. I'm getting ready to. So in February, well, after it was March, actually, I decided to run for Secretary of State in early 2022 after the Biden administration kept the J. Alex Halderman report sealed again. And 2 days later, I was on Bannon announcing that I was running for Secretary of State on Valentine's Day. I said, I've got to run right to the belly of the beast. I'm the only one that can. And so, some people will run away from the fire. And, you mentioned my Navy SEAL son. He was a breacher. And when he first went into the SEAL team, and that means the first guy in, explosives, everything. He was 6'4", really big guy, carried the huge, I don't know what kind of gun they're called, but they're big and they're heavy. And he was honor man in his out of 300 guys, they and his team, they when he was going through buds, they all voted him in as honor man, which is an incredible honor. But being a breacher, you're going in first. You're taking all the hits. You know, you could be killed and all of that, but you're running into the fire, and that's basically what I did. I
You're the
just
preacher. You're carrying the torch.
Yep. And you know, but people have to understand, I believe, Matt, this is the year of the whistleblower. I believe because there's been people like me and others, Carrie Lake, you know, people like us that have gone in, and of course our President Trump, and and taken the hits, that it's opening up the way for others to say, you know what, I know something about whatever, the FBI. I know something about elections. I've watched some criminality here. I think I'm going to stand up too. Um, you know, there's people that travel. I travel around the United States, and there's people say, well, I don't want to be Tina Petered. I'm now a verb, you know. But the thing of it is you are born for such a time as this. And, you know, if you just need to raise your hand and say, God, use me. And it may be something that you feel is insignificant, but it may be a big part of that puzzle that comes together to affect the saving of America.
Yeah. Did my artwork give away the year of the whistleblower? Right.
I love it.
Um, Yeah, because I've been kind of going through that. Like I've been in the last, couple of years just seeing, first and foremost, Trump taking all the hits and getting all these BS, charges thrown at him, whether it be impeachment or anything else, Russia. And I always thought to myself, like, how can I get more involved? And just recently within the last few weeks, I've had really good Patriot friends that are really involved in the community. They put me in touch with you, with Professor Clements, with Joe Altman. Like I want to get involved. I want to be there. I'm going to be there when you're in court in
Thank
February.
you.
We
Thank you. That
we
means a
went.
lot. I really want to encourage people to come. You know, I was talking to some people that were involved with the Bundy case, and they said it's really important. It's important. Things are different when people are on display to do the right thing. When they see that the public is rallying around, you know, and you know, they were telling me what happened during the Bundy case, and there were people outside that, you know, made a difference, that really made a difference. And I've heard this over and over again, you know, and I've also heard with the J6ers, a lot of times there aren't people in the courtroom for them. And it's really important to come to something like this. You know, I mean, if we can rally 200 people on the caravan down at the border right now to be at this rancher's property to, you know, get together and have a great time and draw attention to what's going on the border. I have to tell you that it's my belief, and I think it's well founded, that if we clean up and get rid of these machines and get rid of any kind of electronic anything related to our elections, I'm talking poll books, I'm talking registration, you know, the whole thing, get back to paper where the judges are just checking you off, you're done, that sort of thing. If we don't get this elections problem, the fraud, under wraps, you're going to still have borders open. You're going to still have fentanyl. You're going to still have child trafficking. You're going to have these criminals doing what they're doing in Ukraine and all across the world, selling out our country. You're going to have the invasion of China and all these other people coming in. It all stems from elections. And if this is allowed, what they're hoping is that what was done exposing these machines and exposing all the electronics related to voting, they're hoping that it will just, you know, people chase shiny objects. They're on to this one, then they're on to that one. And I've been steadfast since, you know, 2020,
Yeah,
2021,
right.
right? And people need to stay with it. Now, this trial is starting. We start picking the jury, or you know, on the 8th. I need to be in court the 7th, then February 8th. That's just a week from now. Then the 9th will maybe be opening arguments or impaneling the jury. And then the trial is in full swing on February 12th. And February 12th to what is that, the 16th, and then again for a few days the next week till the 21st. This is a big deal. They want to, there's 10 counts. Each felony count is mandatory 3 years in prison and a $500,000 fine. You count that up with by 7, you can get an idea of what I'm looking at. And then there's misdemeanors, disobeying the orders of the Secretary of State. Well, I'm sorry, you know, I'm an elected official and you're an elected official. And my role is to serve the people and to preserve election records. And that's what I did.
Amazing. So you're the breacher. So I guess in the analogy of the breacher in the military going into the room first, I guess the people you have coming in behind you is the general public, seeing what's going on, getting the exposure. Because I always bring this up to people. It's like, how do you fix it? How do you get these judges out? How, like, you know what I mean? It seems like it can't be done. So how does it work? What do we have to do?
Elections. It's pure elections. You would not have the laws in place, the regulations, the amount of heavy, I mean, you can walk out your door and you've already violated laws and regulations that you didn't even know that
Right.
were there. Everything stems from who we vote into office. And when these people, and for those that haven't seen the movie Selection Code, I would encourage you to watch it. It's for free. It's on my website and other places. It's on Twitter. You know, go watch that movie, get it on a disc, take it to your neighbors. Say, I'll be back in 3 days to pick this up. I want to hear what you think. You know, don't just start complaining about things. You've got to be involved, and you need to be involved in a grassroots effort. On the ground, they need to see, just like they need to see people at my court hearing here in Grand Junction, Colorado at the Justice Center. They need to see you present. You know, and but they've tried with COVID, the COVID scamdemic, with the all the things they've done. None of that would have been possible if
Right.
it hadn't been for elections.
Right. Right. What's your take on I'm just curious, what's your take on the whole Jeff DeWitt Carrie Lake tape? I mean, why isn't this guy in prison? This guy should be arrested immediately.
Well, I know I knew that she had been offered something a while back. Carrie's a good friend of mine, and um, you know, I respect her. They've done that with a lot of people. And when you're not able to be swayed by money, power, and position, then they have no hold over you. And that's the way I judge someone. Carrie cannot be swayed by money, power, position. I cannot be swayed by money, power, position. But there's a lot of legislators and there's a lot of people running for office that can. And so I remember I'm part of an America First coalition where it's a fairly small group, but we were a group of us that were running for Secretary of State, for governor, all across the country. We were able to, and still are able to, compare their tactics, their meaning the deep state, these globalists. And they would go to candidates and they would say, if you just don't talk about elections, we'll get you over the finish line. Right. And so there's a certain person that I'm in her district that did not help me, would not talk about elections. And when you look, there's a magazine on my website at tinapeters.us. It's called the Capital Times Magazine. I'll just show you the
Bought a
cover.
copy. I bought a
You
copy.
got a copy?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll sign it for you when you bring it up.
Please, that'd be great.
Yeah, but in this magazine, it actually has a lot of things. It has the whole story. It's 100 pages of just, you know, my whole story and what's gone on. But in there also, it shows these algorithms, and you can see they're not natural. But this one person that won't talk about elections in the magazine, theirs is what a normal election should look like. The actual graph. And so you'll get to see, you can come, the reason I put that in there is so you could see the difference between a machine manipulated
It was like dot like
race.
SAR or something. Like it was a file that was dot like SA something, right? That made it like a real vote, and then the ones that didn't have that, dot,
Oh,
whatever.
no, you're talking about, okay, so you're talking about how they're actually flipping votes. So in the
Okay.
first, in the first report, there's so much in there, but and you can read the executive summary. I suggest everyone to go in, and if you're not real geeky and you don't want to see the whole thing, read the executive summaries. In the first report, you'll see that all these orange pages highlighted where they deleted 29,000 election records. In the second one, 36 wireless devices, unauthorized software. In the third report, now, so when I took these to the DA to prosecute, to do something about, and he shoved it aside, of course, went after me, and the commissioners. One of the commissioners, Janet Rowland, said, well, yeah, but you haven't shown us how they actually flipped the votes. I went to the cyber guys and I said,
There you go.
look at the April 6th, 2021 election, because when I pulled those results that night, it was a municipal city council election. I said, there's no way. And this is 6 months after, well, 5 months after the 2020 election. I got sick to my stomach. I said, there's no way these people won. There's no way. Nobody knew them. They didn't campaign. It was the Biden basement syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. So they did. And that's what came out of report number 3. So what you're talking about is, so report number 3, among other things, it showed how they front load to affect, and that's in Selection Code, the movie too. But they put the ballots in the tabulator. In our case, it's Dominion. It could be any of them, ES&S, Hart, Hart InterCivic, any of them. They put the ballot in the tabulator, which is just supposed to tabulate, to count how many votes and to recognize what they do. Then there's an image taken of that ballot, okay, like a picture. After about 25% of them have gone in, magically another database is created, which if you want to think of it as a bookie having 2 sets of books,
Right.
one that's secret and one that is shown. So here we go. We've got a second database all of a sudden that's illegal. Then some of the ballots are the ballot images, okay, the picture, are switched over to that second database. We know that they are not the same image. The image has been changed, like
Right.
photoshopped kind of.
Right.
The image has been changed, and there's ways that we know that. We know because it doesn't have the identifying .sha file, and it talks about that in the magazine and also in the reports. But so that's like, it's when you change a picture, it's not going to look the same. And even the other thing is they even go through adjudication differently. So adjudication is when when you examine a ballot, in this case, a ballot image, to see what was the intent of the voter, right?
Right.
So all those things, those adjudication log files were deleted. In the machines, they have a self-deleting script, which there's plenty of room to store all the election records from election. Plenty of room.
Right.
They have it set so short that it keeps deleting itself as it goes. It might be like 3 days and delete.
Right.
So all this criminality has brought out, but it's interesting, Matt, my indictment and why I'm going to trial, where they're going to try to put me in prison for the rest of my life, has nothing to do with elections machines.
It's incredible. It's almost like we don't have a country anymore, because if you don't have elections, you don't have a country. I mean, do you think we're going to have a 2024 presidential election? What's your thought on that?
Well, I think this is what I think. I think we are gaining a lot of ground. I believe that we know how they've cheated. I believe that we are taking measures. I'm going to be going out to California. Actually, I'm going to be visiting with some people from Shasta County, who, they were very brave. They stood up, for to do paper ballots and such. And of course, everything came down on them. But I believe that that we have to keep pressing forward. It's just like, it's kind of like a battering ram. You don't just hit something once, right? You keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And I remember when I was running for Secretary of State. Now I won 62% at the GOP convention. I was 47% up in the polls the week before the primary election against 3 opponents. Magically, I lost. I mean, we could see on election night them flipping votes. So if we hadn't known what to look for, we wouldn't have seen that. I mean, it was an hour and a half after the election staff went home. We could actually see it happening. But I remember Mike Lindell said something to me. He said, Tina, he says, if you win, that's great. If you don't, that's even better, because then we can see their fraud. So when I tell people don't vote early, go in, and if they send you a ballot, take it in with you, but don't give it up. Go in and say, I'd like to vote in person. If they say you've already voted, you call law enforcement right then. Somebody's voted for you.
Look what they did here in Arizona, right? I mean,
Well, and that's the point I was going to make. So people say to me, they say, well, we don't want to happen what happened with Carrie Lake by voting late. That's the wrong way to look at this. By voting on the last day, they were scrambling and panicked to try to compensate for the amount of people coming in, and that exposed their fraud.
right.
So if people had just trickled in, whenever, it would not have had that impact, and they could have hidden it. But by people going in and,
Day of, right.
right. So do that. Go in the day of, if at all possible. Not everybody can, but if you can, go in the day of.
Most people can. Most people can. Did
It's
you ever
important.
I'd be curious. I asked Professor Clements the same question. The Jan Halper Hayes interview. Have you ever seen that where she talks about Space Force having all the election data from dating back from, I think, even 2018?
I'm not familiar with it. No.
It's good. I mean, who knows? I mean, I give her some credibility because she was in Trump's, she's an advisor to Trump, 30
Right.
some odd years on the DOD. But she says that Space Force has been tracking the election data all these years, and they're holding on to something, supposedly. So I'm just hoping, maybe in the future that could be something that, God forbid, things don't go your way, right? You have backup.
Well, we have something big getting ready to come out. So just stay tuned. It should be within the next month, maybe as soon as a few weeks. But just remember that they were clever enough. They wanted me to shut up. They wanted to put me in prison. They wanted to harass me. They had my husband, who was in a nursing home, sign a divorce decree a lot, and I just lost him because of lack of care, in my opinion. They took him away from me. Just the criminality they've done where they go after you has been over the top. But when this stuff's happening, that you're definitely over the target and you can't turn back. You've got to keep going. But there's a lot more going to come out. But what I want people to understand is and it's in the magazine, that the 10 count indictment was for influencing a public servant. There was like 4 felonies for that. Um, Stealing someone's identity. I mean, just stuff, nothing having to do with where we could bring in the proof of how they have scammed the elections and defrauded the voter. So it's very interesting how clever they were in this.
And with the help of the media, the fake news, of course.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Well, Jenna Griswold and all those people will say that I breached the election
Right.
equipment, which is, I mean, it's their mockingbird talking points. But that's funny. That's not one of the indictment, not one of the counts in the indictment, was breaching the election, because they know if they said something stupid like that, that we'd be able to prove how it wasn't
Right.
breached.
Right. I read your
What
Wikipedia
we
page. You'll get a kick out of your own Wikipedia page. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
We need to go in and change those with facts, because they just let anything in there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm going to be going down to the border Friday. I'm going to be going down to Yuma. gonna go check out the Convoy. That's where they're all converging, I think, right? Is in Yuma?
I think so. Tell them to come up here. Tell them to continue the convoy and head
That's
up
actually idea.
to Grand Junction for sure. We really need them here. We need to not let this go by quietly. We need it to have a more than just a blip on the screen. This needs to be a focal point of you know, as far as drawing attention to our elections. Because I'm going to be speaking out. There's other people that are going to be here that are going to be speaking out, watching what's happening in the courtroom. That we've got expanded media coverage, so they're going to be, you know, able to see what's in the court, what's going on there. So
What days can we go to the courtroom? Because I'll be there. I'm there.
okay, so the 8th is when they'll impanel the jury. The 9th will, well, the 8th will go through, you know, the jury. Then the 9th will be impaneling them, and maybe if there's time, there'll be opening arguments. And then the 12th, which is that Monday, will start the trial.
So you want people there on any of those days?
Yes, I mean, any days they can come, please do. You know, if you're able to stay for the whole time, it'll be the 8th and 9th, and then the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and then that'll be, I believe, the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So
Well, I'm there. I'm
yeah,
there. I'm
good.
absolutely
Thank you.
there. I'm gonna go donate some money to you. I'm gonna have the
Thank you.
company donate some money because I know you're a breacher and you're working hard and you're doing it for everybody. And I heard Juan O'Savin talking about you. He was the first one that spoke about you, and
Yeah.
he said Tina Peters is my hero.
Oh,
And
well, Juan's a good guy.
I looked, yeah, I looked into you and I was like, wow, you are just
Mhm.
doing it for, you know, because it's for everybody. It's you're doing the country a service. So grateful to you. Anything you want to add? Anything you want to stack on?
Well, I just want to encourage people out there that everybody can do something, you know, and just ask God what it is that you're supposed to do, and then just do it to the best of your ability. You can't be afraid. You know, it's somebody gave me this little bitty ring. It's so cute. It's kind of overlapping. It says faith over fear. You know, that's the two weapons that the enemy will try to use over you is fear and intimidation. You know, you have to be willing to give up the fear as long as you're on a righteous cause. You know, God will protect you. He'll take care of you. And you can't, I've had 700 above the fold articles written, um, front page articles written defaming me here in this town. They need to hear the truth. They need people to come and tell the truth. So I just really appreciate if everybody can show up. Be peaceable, but you can be vocal. You know, we still do for a time have our First Amendment rights to redress our government. But I would love to see people here, give them a hug. And yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I was going to say one other thing was I was watching David K. Clements the other day on a podcast, and I was questioning whether or not to go down to the border. I'm like, you know, all these people, infiltrators, Antifa, probably a bunch of feds that are going to be infiltrating this thing. And then I listen to Professor Clements. He's like, who cares? Then you're
Mhm.
just giving up free speech if you don't do it. You got to
That's
go
right.
down there. You got to do it and face off with these people, right? Peacefully,
Right.
you say, right? But you got to show up. And I think that's what everybody's got to do. So when I go down there, I'm going to try to get in touch with Joe and let's try to get some people up to Colorado from the border.
Good, please do. Yeah, just bring the caravan on up, and if you need places to stay, let me know. There's 3 hotels within walking distance of the courthouse on Main Street in Grand Junction. And then if people want to camp, you know, there's places to camp. Actually, it's beautiful outside today. It's like 50. So
Okay.
this is the banana belt of Colorado.
Nice. Okay. Good. Good. Well, Tina, thank you so much. You want to add where people can find you and find where to donate? I'll put a link in the description.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. We've worked hard to attempt to put everything on the website, tinapeters.us, where you can follow me, where you can donate. It's at Real Tina Peters on X. You know, there's links there. And also the 3 reports the injunction, I'm suing Merrick Garland, Jenna Griswold, and the DA Rubenstein. You know, so I won't give up. I'll keep fighting, but go on there and share it. Share. Watch Selection Code. Everything should be on my website, and you're welcome to reach out to me too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tina. Thanks so much for taking the time.
You
You're
bet. You bet. God bless you. Thank you.
We salute you. God
Thanks.
bless.